What's the most ridiculous complaint someone has ever made about you? I was at Starbucks working on my laptop when this woman sitting nearby started glaring at me. After 10 minutes, she marched over. She demanded I stop what I was doing immediately. I looked up confused and asked what exactly I needed to stop. She explained that my typing was too loud and disrupting her meditation session. I pointed out that this was a Starbucks, not a library. She crossed her arms and informed me she came here every Tuesday at exactly 2 p.m. for her spiritual practice. My aggressive typing was throwing off her chakras. I pressed the keys softer. She shook her head. She declared it was still too loud and that I was creating negative energy. A barista walked by with a milk steamer that sounded like a jet engine. The woman didn't even notice. She pulled out her phone and started recording me, announcing she was documenting this harassment. I told her I was just working on a presentation. She zoomed in on my keyboard and proclaimed that my violent finger movement was assault on her aura. The businessman next to me looked up from his own laptop and laughed. She spun around and accused him of being part of this conspiracy too. He shook his head and went back to typing even louder. She screamed that this was coordinated harassment. She covered her ears and ran to the counter, yelling that these people were ganging up on her with their keyboards. The 19-year-old barista looked past her at the completely normal scene and explained that people were allowed to use laptops here. She shrieked that they weren't allowed when they were weaponizing them against her meditation. She stormed back to my table and threatened to call the police for disturbing her spiritual practice. I kept typing. She pulled out her phone and actually dialed 911. She told the operator she needed officers at Starbucks because someone was committing keyboard violence. The dispatcher must have hung up because she immediately called back. "Hello? This is a spiritual emergency." The manager walked over and approached our table. He asked what the problem was. She pointed at me dramatically and explained that this man was using his laptop to send negative vibrations into her chakras, disrupting her Tuesday meditation ritual. The manager turned to me and asked if I was doing anything inappropriate. I gestured at my screen showing a PowerPoint about quarterly sales reports and confirmed I was just working on this presentation. She leaned over and read my screen, then exclaimed that sales reports meant I was channeling corporate greed energy directly at her third eye. The manager sighed heavily and told her I was allowed to work here. "Not when it's spiritual assault," she protested. She lit incense despite the obvious fire hazard. The manager stepped forward and told her she couldn't light that in here. She waved the smoking stick around my laptop, explaining she was cleansing the negative tech energy. Smoke filled the air. The fire alarm started beeping. She ignored it and began chanting loudly in what sounded like made-up Sanskrit, then lunged forward and tried to close my laptop. The fire alarm got louder. The manager grabbed the incense and stubbed it out. He announced that was it and she needed to leave. She spread her arms wide and declared they couldn't remove her during sacred meditation time. She sat cross-legged on the floor and closed her eyes. The manager called security. 2 guys in uniform walked in within minutes. They told her she needed to come with them. She opened her eyes and stated she wasn't moving until Keyboard Man stopped his digital assault. Security exchanged confused glances at the absurd scene. They asked her to stand up, please. She went completely limp and announced she was practicing peaceful resistance against laptop oppression. They had to physically lift her off the ground. Her crystals scattered everywhere. She started screaming about constitutional rights and religious freedom. The security guards carried her toward the door while she flailed her arms. She pointed at me one last time and declared that my typing had cursed this sacred space.